Good day, everyone. Welcome to week number 17 for Decipher WARS Radio. I'm your host, Mark Tuttle. It is Friday, October 15th, and WARS TCG has officially been out for about a week and a half now, and that means that this weekend is first tournament weekend. Now, if you haven't yet figured out where your first tournament weekend event is going to be, you need to go to our first tournament weekend locator on Decipher.com, find the nearest place hosting a tournament, check out the time, go there, play, have a great time, and then by all means send us some email and let us know how you enjoyed first tournament weekend for WARS TCG. The tournament locator is up, as I said, on Decipher.com, and you can also get to it from WarsTCG.com. And something else that's coming up next week, of course, is the big $10,000 cash tournament at Essen, which is taking place at Spiel in Essen, Germany. A bunch of the Decipher guys are going over for that show, and that will be the location of our first $10,000 tournament. The first 2 days are essentially day ones. Take 8 people out of each of the first 2 days, and then play off the final day for that big $10,000 cash purse. So if you are going to be near Essen, Germany, next weekend, you definitely want to take part in that $10,000 tournament for WARS TCG. And if you can't get to Essen, don't forget, coming up this March in Las Vegas is our second $10,000 cash tournament. So a lot of big things coming up for WARS TCG. Now, something else that was posted this week on the website, in case you missed it, was the WARS Tour schedule has finally been posted. Now, essentially what the WARS Tour is, if you're not familiar with how Decipher does these, a couple times a year we do what we call a marketing tour, and we take members of our marketing, sales, and game studio staff, and we go all over the world, and we do bounty tournaments, we have special prizes, exclusive promo cards, all kinds of cool things like that, and the tour has been posted for the one we're going to do coming up in November. We're calling it the Decipher Wars Tour. Now, this tour will actually cover both Wars TCG and the Lord of the Rings TCG for our Shadows expansion, which introduces the War of the Ring block. Now, what you need to do is you need to find the link on Decipher.com or WarsTCG.com. Click on the link, pull up the city listing, find out where the closest tournament to you is going to be. We're trying to cover as much area as possible, but we're doing the United States, Southern Canada. We're also doing a European tour, which will have that schedule posted very soon to let you know where we're going to be there. What we're going to do at these tour stops, we're going to go in there. We're going to have a booster draft tournament for WARS TCG. 3 packs. You'll open the pack. You'll draft from those packs. Play a tournament. If you get paired up against the Decipher Warrior who shows up at your store, you can go for the bounty. If you beat him, you get your share of the prizes that he will bring with him. We're going to have exclusive WARS TCG t-shirts, an exclusive WARS TCG promo card, which will be a foil version of Horatio Hicks. Only place you can get it is on the Decipher Wars Tour, so very cool there. Plus, we've also got these very oh-so-cool pins, one for each faction. If you go to a Decipher Wars Tour stop, you have a chance to win one of those pins. We'll also tell you how you can get your hands on them later, but that's, again, something we'll talk about at a later date. But right now, the tour is up. The tours actually begin the week of November 5th, so you want to find out where the Decipher Wars Tour is coming to a retailer near you. Now, I mentioned Booster Draft for Wars TCG. Some first tournament events are going to be Booster Draft. The Wars Tour is definitely Booster Draft, and a lot of you might not be aware or might be familiar with how Booster Draft works. And even if you are, maybe you're not sure how to do it successfully with WARS TCG. Joining us for our interview of the week this week is Decipher game designer Mike Girard. He's going to tell us how to do Booster Draft for WARS TCG. Mike, welcome back to Decipher WARS Radio.
How's it going, Mark?
It's going great now this week on WARS Radio. Of course, the product has been out for about a week and a half now, and people are starting to play some games. We're doing constructed tournaments, sealed tournaments, Booster Draft. You are here today to tell us how to Booster Draft WARS TCG.
Yeah, I thought I'd give a little insight to some of our listeners and whatnot so they can have a little bit of experience going into their first Booster Draft.
All right, now this product was designed with Booster Draft in mind.
Yes.
Basically, 3 packs, open it up, you build a 40-card deck using the standard draft thing. For people who have never Booster Draft before, just give them a brief overview of what Booster Draft is, how it works when you sit down at the table.
Well, you sit down, everybody sits down, usually 8-man pods, you have 3 packs. Everybody cracks their first pack, they look at their cards, and they take a card, place it face down in front of them, and wait till everybody else has picked their card, and then everybody consecutively passes to the left simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And then you'll be getting a pack from your right, you'll take a card, and you'll do this until there's no cards left in the pack.
Right.
For the second pack, you pass to the right, and for the third pack, you pass back to the left.
All right, so basically you're going to buy 3 packs, and you're going to get 1 or 2 cards out of the pack that you actually opened. The rest of it's going to get passed around, though.
Right,
okay.
Exactly.
Now, before we get to the actual cards and what you would select when you're doing that, what do you need to bring with you to a WARS TCG Booster Draft?
Well, For the first couple of weeks, or for the first couple of months rather, we're going to try to get the unlimited locations in circulation with the stores and whatnot. So those will be provided by your store. But if you're going to draft sometime in the next couple of months, you should bring a healthy amount of unlimited locations with you so that you don't have to rely on somebody else to get these locations.
All right, so what we're saying is, since you don't necessarily know if you're going to be drafting Shi or Maverick or Quay or a combination of each, how many of each faction do you think would be good to have available to you, even if you want to bring them out of your own personal stock? Maybe 5 of each?
Yeah, that's about right. You probably won't want to play, even if you do play mono-like faction, you'll already draft a couple locations in the faction to begin with, including your starting location, so you won't be playing more than 5 or 6 of each unlimited location.
All right, so at the end of the draft, you're going to have 45 cards in your hand. How many other locations are you going to work into that? Because we're building toward 40 decks or 40 card decks or 45 card decks.
That's 40 card decks.
All right, so let's talk about the packs now. We have 3 packs here in front of us, so let's go ahead and open that pack up right there. This is the first pack of Wars TCG Incursion.
I'm excited.
And he opens a pack faster than any man I've ever seen. Now, you've got the cards in your hand. You've got a mix of common, uncommon, and rare. We also have that 18-card foil subset. Now, perhaps an inexperienced drafter is going to grab the shiny first.
Right.
Or maybe go straight to the rare.
Right. All they look at is the collector number.
But that necessarily is not going to help you in draft.
No, of course not.
All right. So, in that pack right there, what are you going to look for? What kind of things are you going to want to see first of all?
Well, if this is my first pack that I open for the draft, I want to look for something that I could probably build my strategy around. Now, if it's the first pack and the first pick, it's okay to take the rare if you think like if it's the Gambler or if it's one of the 4 Tactics Keysen, something that you can build your strategy around.
So you're pretty much going to decide the faction you're going to play feasibly out of that opening pack.
Yes and no. I mean, you can if something gets passed to you in the first pack and it's not something that's in your faction, you can make a faction switch on the fly. That's what Brad and I refer to as making an audible.
Okay.
But you don't have to necessarily stay within what your first couple picks are. That's the beauty of draft. Mm-hmm. That's why we have extra cards at the end, is so you can build your deck around what strategy you may be passed in the draft.
All right. So what do you got there in your hand? What would you pick out of this pack right now?
Well, there's a lot of units in here and a couple ships. There's not a lot that I can really start to build a strategy around. There's a McCall Shrieker and an Infantry Soldier. Maybe those are better as like a 4th or a 5th pick. There's even an Earth Humanities Home, but I don't know if I want to start off with a location, even though it is a good starting location for Earth. I think I would have to go with the Squadron Lead. There's also another ship in here. The transport vessel is the rare, but it really won't help me all that much in draft, and I think I'll go with the Squadron Lead because it has... You can usually put it down in a system by itself. It doesn't require a lot of support icons, so you can maybe use Shi as your second faction in your draft deck. Plus, it's got a 6 defense, so it can probably hold a sector by itself.
All right. Would you look at the support icons pretty heavily when deciding things coming out of your booster draft?
Oh, of course. I think support icons are probably more weighted than actual energy cost. Even though this is pretty early in the draft, like if this is my first or second pack, I won't look at support icons as much as I will strength of text. But I mean, as it gets on into the draft, like the 8th, 9th, 10th pick, I don't want to be drafting something that has 3 support icons that's not in my faction.
Sure.
I mean, I may draft it if I know that the person to my left or right, like if this is the 3rd pack and I know the person to my left is like drafting heavily into one faction, I may take it as a defensive draft so that he can't build his deck off of it, or so it doesn't complement his deck strategy. But I mean, I probably won't take something with 3 support icons in the 3rd pack. How
about support icon or the independent faction? How important is it to grab that stuff, since you can play that with most anything?
Well, even if you aren't playing like the Earth faction, you can still take a corporate transport because it's still a warm body for your space portion of your deck, and it can still hold down a sector even by itself or even with another ship. My personal favorite independent card is the Type 2 fighter.
Okay. All right. Now, the guy to your right is starting to hit you, so pick a card out of that. What's it going to be? What are you going to pick?
I'll go ahead and take the Squadron Lead.
Okay, Squadron Lead. All right, next pack. And this isn't how it would work in draft, by the way. We're just going over 3 packs here. But what would you open that pack? What would you pick out of that, maybe?
Oh, well, the Gambler's still in here. I don't know what the person to my right took, but I'll go ahead and take the Gambler. He can hold a site on its own. I mean, he's a 5 Destiny. There's really nothing that big of a drawback about him. I mean, his power is kind of low, but he still draws Destiny on his own.
Sure. So Keysen are pretty much going to be a pretty easy pick, right?
Sure. If it's really early in the draft, you can build your deck around it. You can get a strategy going around a good Keysen.
Okay. Aside from the Gambler, what else do you have in there?
There's a Taka Life ship, It's got 2 support icons, but it's a power 4 and defense 7. All of the Quay big capital ships are good enough to hold down a sector on their own. There's also a Taemon fighter. Taemon fighters are good for a splash, like for a second faction. Mm-hmm. Even the Resource Technician, both the Resource Technician and the Taemon fighter, I would consider as my second faction color because they both have 2 tactics.
Sure.
And they can combine with another unit or so and hold down a site or a sector.
All right, pop that third pack and see what. And while you're opening that, start thinking in your mind, because I'm going to ask you at the end of this if there's any kind of overlying secret to winning, to succeeding in booster draft.
This one's got a Sumadar Dimir, but if I took the squadron lead in the first pack, then I would most definitely take the Dimir in this pack. I could run my 2 factions of Shi and Maverick, but having two factions both deep into like 3 support icons is kind of rough because you're not guaranteed to get out 3 of each. Mm-hmm. So it would be a toss up whether I would take this card. If I did go with the Ganjin Splash, I could probably take the Deegan follower. Is it Deegan or Daigen?
Sure.
In here because it's a 2 power 2 tactics unit, and it's only got 2 support icons and a healthy destiny of 4.
All right, percentage-wise, as you're pulling cards out of these packs now, how heavy are things going to be weighted toward units, weapons, assets, orders, locations? I imagine pretty much you're going to want permanence on the table. Is going to be most of what you're grabbing.
Yeah, of course. Weapons and assets and whatnot are just to complement your strategy.
So more than likely, those are going to be the things that are going to go around a lot.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that's going to come back around to you.
Right. Well, you may see a sidearm go early because sidearm I heard was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So that may go early. But or there's a couple like Natural Talent is a really good Quay like asset that may go earlier than normal. But if I have a choice of taking a unit over a verb, then I'll probably take a unit.
All right. Well, the question I asked you a moment ago, what is there an overlying secret in booster draft? How do you practice for this? How do you test it? How do you get better at this?
Well, the beauty of this is that you can do it with all your friends. Like you can take your prize support that you just won in the constructor tournament and go with your friends and just draft that, and that'll get your practice in. And then after you play some games, whatever, you can pool all the cards together and draft for the rares. Just stuff like that.
All right. Now, we've announced that the Wars Tours that are starting up in November, the tournament that we'll be running for Wars TCG will be Booster Draft, so something you want to bone up on a little bit now. And we also announced that the big $10,000 tournament in Las Vegas next March is going to be a Booster Draft tournament. So this is a very important format to us. It's something that we decided at the very beginning we wanted this game to be, so it's definitely something that you want to practice up on.
I'm really excited. I hope to get in a couple booster drafts while I'm in Essen.
All right. Of course, Essen is also coming up next week. You guys are going to be out there.
Yeah.
You come back and tell us lots of good stories about that.
I hope so.
All right. Mike, thanks for joining us on Wars Radio.
Thanks, Mark.
Moving along now on Decipher Wars Radio. Let's do your big reveal for today. Now, as we've said a couple times, Incursion's been out for about a week and a half now, but people are already starting to ask about the next set, which last week we told you was called Nowhere to Hide. Well, if you want to see a little something from Nowhere to Hide, here is your big reveal for this week. This is the website, warstcg.fanhq.com/articles/article.aspx !ID equals 515, and you'll see something cool from Nowhere to Hide. There you go, folks. Check that out. Let's check some email.
We get email. We get your email every day. Here's your mail today.
A couple of emails for you here this week. This first one is from Andrew Johnson. Andrew says, I noticed you referred to the moon as Luna, which I find very cool on Decipher's part instead of just calling it the moon. In one of the upcoming expansions, will there be a sector card for the sun? Will it be referred to simply the sun, or would Decipher refer to the sun as Sol, which I believe is the proper name for the sun? I would be very interested in knowing which Decipher would use. Well, the reason that we called our moon Luna is because there are a lot of moons in the solar system, and of course Wars CCG takes place throughout the solar system. And because I know you guys like to know useless facts, here's a bunch of them for you. We have 141 different moons in our solar system as of September 2004. Mercury has zip, Venus 0, Earth 1, Mars 2, Jupiter 62 different moons, all of which have names. Saturn has 35, Uranus has 27, Neptune 13, and Pluto has won for a total of 141. So that's why we called it Luna, and I would imagine that we probably would refer to the sun as Sol, which of course is the name for that. So Andrew, good question there. Next one up, this one is from Austin Yost. He says, "Hi, my name is Austin Yost from Colorado. I've been enjoying playing Wars TCG this past week. The local store here sold out of starter decks on the 7th of October, which made it somewhat difficult to get encampments for the booster draft on Friday. One of the guys playing in the draft has a full set except a Jack Wildgrass. And before the draft, he switched his first pack with a friend of his in our pod. And what should be in that pack but a Jack Wildgrass? The look on his face was priceless. Big thanks to Decipher for making such a great product. Keep up the good work." All right, this is what I call a perfect example of the Joe Schlabotnik syndrome. Joe Schlabotnik syndrome works like this. If you read the old Charlie Brown comic strips, Peanuts comic strips, this is probably back before most of you were even born, Charlie Brown was obsessed with collecting baseball cards, and he had one of every single card except for a player named Joe Schlabotnik. He would buy pack after pack after pack after pack. He would never get that. Lucy would then go into the store, buy one pack, open it up, and sure enough, it was a Joe Schlabotnik. She wouldn't trade it to Charlie Brown, then he'd walk away devastated, and she'd end up throwing it in the trash can. I actually remember reading that cartoon years ago and thinking, why would anybody be opening up packs and packs and packs of cards to get one card? Look where I am now. All right, so Austin, thanks for that little trip down memory lane. We'll make you email of the week, send you some great stuff. Not a Jack Wildgrass for your friend. I'm sorry. The lesson here is, don't trade packs off to your friends until you open them and see what's in them first. Austin will set you up with a great prize. All right, that's it for this week on Decipher Wars Radio. Next week, we'll have the numbers from First Tournament Weekend, let you know how that was. We're also looking, of course, for your feedback from First Tournament Weekend. Did you have a good time? Did you win big prizes? Was it a big event for your store? Let us know. Send your comments, suggestions, feedback to wars.radio@decipher.com. Of course, if we make you email of the week, we'll set you up with some great prize. That's all for this week on Decipher Wars Radio. Have a great week, folks.
Signal verification is complete.